Hello, good evening, and welcome for today's training. It's my pleasure to welcome all of you for this wonderful training. All right, so once again, it's my pleasure to welcome all of you for today's training. It has been a wonderful experience since we started, and we are not giving up until we complete the course core modules. Do you understand? That is for the free professional diploma training. We must complete the course module. So I'd like to welcome all of you for today's training. And how is your weekend going over there? Um, Mr. Steven, you're welcome. Punctual as usual. And then today, Mr. John Sapa also joined quickly. So it's a pleasure to welcome all of you. And then I want to also welcome Bayo from Akure. Steven and John are from South Sudan. And then we have Dr. Katanga from Namibia, Tarisin from Abia State, and then we have Tadere Gebre Sipa from Ethiopia. We have Ambassador Vivian Bassa. We have Solomon from Kenya. We have Abagu from Meduguri. We have Eden from Zambia, Lusaka. So I would like to welcome all of you for today's training, and it's a wonderful experience so far. On this training, and I believe that today is not going to be different. You're going to continue to enjoy the dividends of good training, and we are going to share knowledge together. I remember I gave you assignment yesterday. I was trying to type the assignment in the WhatsApp, and I slept off. I was so tired, so I slept off, and then the message is still there. Maybe after today's training, I will drop the message so that you can participate in the assignment. Do you understand? So my name once again is Ambassador Tahuli Joshua, the registrar of the Esteem Institutes of Global Peace and Conflict Management in Nigeria here, Abuja precisely, the Federal Capital Territory of Nigeria. I'm reaching out to you wherever you are connecting from, and we appreciate all of you for connection. And as we say before, if you have joined us, do way to share the link to someone. Let them also connect. You can also put it on your wall, inviting people to participate in the training. It's a free training, of course, so no one should be afraid to participate. And of course, you can also do way to react to our meeting, by liking, you know, by using any emoji to just comment or to react. Do you understand? To go a long way to help and sustain the visibility for others to also join. So I'd like to welcome all of you for today's training. Ambassador Bandele, you're welcome. It's a pleasure to have you. And then we have Paul Ago from Port Harcourt. We have Shirofaya from Zambia. It's our coordinator there. Thank you. It's a pleasure to welcome all of you for today's training and happy weekend. Happy weekend. For those of us in the FCT today, it was local elections in the FCT as a federal capital territory. They had their elections today. I don't know the result, but it seems to be a peaceful election. We did not see any form of conflict. We did not see any form of crisis. So I can say it is it is a free. No, I cannot say it's a free and fair election, but it is a violent, fair election. Do you understand? So far, so good. I think they should be doing collection now, so that the it's a wonderful thing to welcome all of you for today's training. So, Unit 3 of Module 4. And in this unit, we are going to cover policy and institutional prevention. Policy and what? Institutional prevention. So, how do policies help in preventing conflict from occurring? How does institution help in the prevention of conflict? This is what we're going to look at today. We believe that good policies bring about um, you know, good intentions, and of course, they prevent conflict occurring from occurring. And of course, strong institutions also help to prevent conflict. Do you understand? So we are going to look at the details of what we are expecting today. Do you understand? We are going to look at the details of what we're going to experience today. And so, but we believe that good policies brings about good development, and of course they foster peace and forestall what? Conflict. Do you understand? So strong institutions also promote peace rather than encourage conflict. So these are the things that we're going to learn here today. All right, so that's it. So we'll be looking at the learning objectives. By the end of this unit, learners should be able to examine institutional approaches to conflict and violence prevention. Learners should be able to, examine institutional approaches towards conflict and violence prevention. Number two objective that we want learners to understand is how policies and institutions can reduce structural causes of conflict. Structural what? Causes of conflict. Tony and Meta, you're welcome. Network is bad from your end, right? Um, it's going to be better. Ambassador Ferdinand, you're welcome. Ambassador Wande Amos, you're welcome. Thank you. Matthew Buan, thank you. Fajobi, thank you. Ambassador Fajobi, thank you. All right. So another objective is that by the end of this training today, The learner should be able to analyze this, the role of governance, security, institutions, and public policy in prevention. Do you understand? And then conduct a basic policy reviews to assess prevention effectiveness. So this is the much we're going to cover today. So let's go through it and see what we're going to cover here. All right. I don't know. Let me try to expand my presentation today so that we can see how does it look like today. Is it looking very bold now? It's just I cannot see your comment for now. If I want to see your comments, I will minimize it. But I hope you can see it. It's very bold now. Is that right? So now, introduction. Introduction. So we're going to look at policy and institution or institutional prevention. What is the focus of this? Policy and institutional prevention focuses on how formal rules, laws, policies, and organizations are designed and implemented to prevent conflict, to prevent insecurity, to prevent violence before they escalate. Policies and institutional prevention focuses on how formal laws, rules, policies, and organizations are designed and implemented to prevent conflict, insecurity, and violence before they escalate. That is the intention of the policies. That is the intention of the organizations. These institutions are designed with the consciousness to prevent conflict from occurring. Do you understand? Policies and rules and laws are made with the intention to prevent conflict from occurring. Do you understand? That's why it was so sudden. And I was also particularly saddened that the National Assembly had the opportunity of making a holistic law that left no room for conflict, but they miss it because of their personal and selfish interest. Do you understand? Because of their own personal fears. Do you understand? Why should I make my personal fears to be above the good of the country and the institution I represent? But they allow their selfishness to overwhelm the collective good of the society. Do you understand? To supersede their own selfish interests, supersede the collective good of the country. That's what they allow. That's what they allow to happen, and that is not good. Do you understand? They had opportunity to make a better electoral law that prevent conflict from occurring. But with what they did, I can tell you for sure that they have created a room for conflict to occur. And that makes the law itself to be weak. All right? That's not a strong law. It's a weak law. Do you understand? And then another aspect is that it makes also the institution that is going to conduct election, to also be weak, or also to be manipulated. That's it make the independent National Electoral Commission itself to be weak. Do you understand? That law weakens the Electoral Commission, and it has open opportunity for it to face legal battles after elections. Do you understand? Because of you know one law that was not made well. Do you understand? That's what we're talking about here. So institution, policies, laws, all of these are made with the consciousness to prevent what? Conflict from occurring. That's why these laws are being made. Do you understand? They are made to prevent insecurity. They are made to prevent violence from occurring. Strong institution, strong policies. Do you understand? So, unlike reactive approaches, institutional prevention addresses root causes such as exclusion, such as weak governance, poor service delivery, and unaccountable what? Security institutions. Yes, laws are made to bring all of this into account. Institutional prevention addresses the root cause of conflict. Do you understand? It addresses what the root cause of conflict. And that's what we are talking about here today. So we are saying that strong institutions and inclusive policies create trust between the state and the citizens. As it is today, I can tell you that a greater percentage of citizens in Nigeria does not trust their government. A greater percentage of the citizenry does not trust their own government. Why? Because institutions are weak, governance is poor, governance is bad. Do you understand? Exclusion is the order of the government today. Do you understand? And then sectionalism, ethnicity are some of the things that are perversing, the functioning of government, and it's affecting the government acceptability. It's affecting the government trustworthiness. Do you understand? Because the citizen themselves does not trust the government as good as the government does not trust its own citizens. You understand? So strong institutions and inclusive policies create trust between the state and the citizens. It reduces grievances and promote long-term peace and stability, something we have not witnessed in our country for a while now. Why some countries are enjoying relative peace, countries like Rwanda, countries like South Africa, to some extent, they enjoy relative peace. Countries like Egypt, countries like Morocco, they enjoy relative peace. But ours is a different case. Why? Because institutions are not strengthened. Governance remains as poor as anything. When people come into government, they feel it is their own time for them to just govern and they use power and abuse power the way they want it. Do you understand? How can you can talk about internal rules of an institution like the National Assembly to supersede the Constitution itself? So much so that you within your own house can suspend a member that's being elected by his or her own people to represent them, and then you say because of internal rules you suspend the person against what even the Constitution says. Do you understand? So you can see these things make the institution itself and the rule and the laws themselves to be what? Weak. That's why even to execute the law in this country becomes a problem. The judiciary are as weak as anything you can think of. The judiciary is weak because the law is weak. I get a point now. The law is a created vacuum for manipulation. So weak laws make weak institution. Are we together? So let's move forward. Policy prevention. How does policy prevent conflict? Let's look at it. Policy prevention refers to the use of laws, strategies, and regulations to reduce conflicts. Policy prevention refers to the use of laws, strategies, and regulations to reduce conflict risk and promote what? Peace. So you are using policy, you know, to reduce the chances of conflict occurrence. Do you understand? And then you are using policies to do everything possible to promote peace in your community. Do you understand? To promote peace in your organization, to promote peace in your own country. So policies are meant to strengthen institutions. Policies are meant to improve governance. Policies are meant to, bring good for the people you represent. Policies are not meant to victimize people. Policies are not meant to exploit people. Policies are supposed to, prevent conflict from occurring, and also are supposed to what promote the dignity of the people and the welfare of the people. That's what policies are supposed to bring, not victimization, not to influence conflict, not to encourage conflict, not to create room for conflict. That's not what policies are about. So let's look at, for examples, national security policies that emphasize human security rather than only state security. Now we don't prioritize human security, we prioritize the state security. Do you understand? So much so that the government is protected, but its citizens are not protected. Do you understand? The government is protected, but her own citizens are unprotected. Today in Abuja here, because today is a day set aside for a process to form a new government in the Federal Capital Territory. They release how many thousands of military, thousands of police, thousands of civil defense officers, just for a SCT election. Yeah, why not? That's the issue. So protecting the state and protecting the humans is a balanced situation. But whereby state is heavily protected, but the human or the citizens are not protected, where human security is not being a priority, then there's a problem. Do you understand? So education policies that promote civic education and tolerance. So education policies should what? Promote civic education and tolerance, should encourage tolerance. That's why we have social studies in schools. Do you understand? That young people can be brought up in a way that promote peace. So that we can know the waves of lives of people, the culture of different ethnicities we have in our own country, so that we can live together. You understand? That's the essence of it. Land use policies that reduce farmer-herder conflict. Policy over land should be such that reduce conflict. But such policies should not be meant to exploit people. That's why policies like Ruga, policies like what do you call it? They were not widely accepted because it was seems to be exploitative in nature. They were seem to be biased in nature. So such kind of policies were declined and denied, rejected. They were declined, rejected, and abandoned. Do you understand? That's it. Ruga policies. Do you understand? Institutional prevention. Let's look at institutional what? Prevention. Institutional prevention involves strengthening state and non-state institutions so they can manage disputes peacefully and deliver services fairly. Do you understand? Institutional prevention involves strengthening state and non-state institutions so that they can manage dispute peacefully and deliver services fairly. Do you understand? That's what it is. So this is the essence of having institutional prevention. They are strengthened. Do you understand? You strengthen them to be able to, manage dispute, whether they are state-owned institution or private institution like ours. Do you understand? You have to strengthen them. You have to make laws that strengthen this institution for them to be able to make laws. So for them to be able to create impact and deliver services, quality services. I get a point now. That's what we're talking about here. So let's look at some example. Independent judiciary resolving dispute impartially. But the judiciary that the president has to appoint the chief judges, the Supreme Court chief judge, and then the president of the other judicial judicial institution. How do you expect such institution to be considered as independent? Why not this institution by themselves appoint their own officers by themselves, and so that they can have the authority to exercise their own position without taking side? Do you understand? But a government appointed judicially has no power of its own. It will remain a puppet to the government that appointed it. All right? It will remain answerable to the government that appointed it. I cannot give you appointment and you'll be answerable to something else. Do you understand? So you must dance to my own tunes. Effective local governments responding to community needs. How effective are our local governments today? When local government autonomy is being granted but is not being implemented, where the state government hijack the allocations of local government, how can those local government perform credibly? You are a local government chairman, but you are just a figurehead. You have no control. In fact, some of them might even pity them. You understand? So these are the issue. So effective local government responding to community needs means that that government is being empowered. That local government is being empowered, is being supported, is being, economically supported, with allocation coming without obstruction, allocation coming without the state government interception. Do you understand? Because so far as the state government continues to receive and collect the money of the local government and then give them peanuts, such local government can never be effective. I get a point now. They can never be effective. And that's why the local government in our own country are not effective, because the system is being designed in such a way that it suppresses the functionality of the local government. So how can they be effective and functional? It's impossible until they begin to receive allocation directly and also have the authority of their own. Traditional and religious institutions supporting mediation. You understand? Are there traditional institutions that, it's very unfair that sometimes you see it's even the king themselves that is encouraging their youth to go and fight over what disputes for a particular piece of land. Dispute over a particular piece of land. You, the king, you are gingering your youth to go and fight the other community for a piece of land. Do you understand? So how can such be? So institutions like this are supposed to encourage mediation where there is one, where there's need, where there's conflict. Do you understand? They're supposed to encourage what? Mediation. Encourage people to seek dialogue, a peaceful way of resolving their own problem, rather than taking arms and taking laws into their hands. It's what we're talking about here today. And I think you are following me. Do you understand? So that's institutional prevention. Let's move forward. Let's look at security sector reform. SSR. Security sector reform is the process of transforming security or security institutions, that's the military, police, the intelligence, and justice systems, to make them more effective, more accountable, more professional, and people-centered. These institutions are not just supposed to be a concern of their own, but they are supposed to be people-oriented. They're supposed to be people-centered. These institutions are being formed for the good of its own people, and they are not supposed to abuse the rights of its own people. But you see, the NSAS that was disbanded, all right, there were so many atrocities that NSAS committed, and that's why there was we have never witnessed that kind of protest in my own country as the protest against SARS. You understand? So, and then that that they enforced the change, and SARS was what abandoned and forgotten. You understand? Today we don't have SARS. You understand? So these are the issue. So security reforms should be carried out to make this institution accountable, to make them professional. Because some of them, when they behave, you don't see any form of professionalism in them at all. All right? Because you arrest somebody before you go to court to secure warrant of arrest. What kind of system is that? You arrest somebody before you start investigation. What kind of system is that? So if you are investigating me after you have arrested me and confined me and you did not get anything, what should I do with you? You understand? So that is what we're talking about here. So before you arrest somebody, first and foremost, investigate, get all the facts that you need to get, and let those facts be substantial to incriminate or should be qualified enough to arrest somebody before I arrest the person. These laws are supposed to be, this institution are supposed to be people oriented. They are not the enemies of the people. They are not supposed to be enemies of the people. But sometimes when you look at them and the oppression, it's as if so let's look at some key elements of SSR, democratic oversight of security forces. Yeah, there should be some oversight. Senate, House of Reps overseeing what conduct oversight on this institution to make them work and do their job. Civilian control of the military. You understand? So civilians should have a say over their own military. Military should not be found. That's, you see, you do see them on the street. What are you doing on the street? You as a military officer supposed to be in barracks, waiting for in country or cross country border fight. Do you understand? Not to or for insurgents, not to be on the streets where people are protesting. Your presence there alone can cause others to fight. Do you understand? So professional training and ethics, you know, yeah, the military should be trained. Institutions should be trained. Respect for human rights and rule of law. Respect the rights of the people and the rule of law that governs them. Do you understand? Very, very important. Are we following? I hope we are following. Any question? Let me minimize it so that I can see your question. Any question? Any question? All right. So if you have joined us, do way to share the link with someone. Ask them to join, to connect. That it's a free training. Put it on your wall. Encourage someone to participate. You also react, comment. Right? Comment, paraphrase what you are learning, and let us know that you are learning. Right? So that's good. Victoria, is good to know that you are following. Ambassador Basa, is good to know you are following. Naji, Shaya, thank you that you are still following. Appreciate all of you. So, policy reforms to improve community policing in Nigeria, judicial reforms to ensure fair trials and reduce impunity are some of the examples of security sector reform. Let's look at inclusive governance. Inclusive what governance? Inclusive governance ensures that all groups, regardless of ethnicity, regardless of what ethnicity, regardless of what religion, regardless of what gender, regardless of what political affiliation, to have access to what? Decision making processes and public resources. All right. Inclusive governance ensure that all groups, regardless of ethnicity, religion, gender, or political affiliation, have access to what? Decision making processes and public execution or public resources. Inclusive governance. Governance without a sense of tribal bigotism. Inclusive governance without a sense of nepotistic tendencies. Inclusive governance that is devoid of sectionalism, tribalism. I shouldn't know where you come from before I start telling to you. If you come to my office, you understand? I shouldn't know where you are coming from. I should just deal with you, provided you are in Nigeria. If you're looking for a job, I'm privileged to give you, I'll give you. Not necessary to know where you come from before I will give you. I may even give you before I ask you where you come from. So let's look at examples. Gender inclusive political appointments can help to reduce women tension. Youth participation in policy formulation. Yeah, you know, when policies are formulated and are being imposed on people, they find it difficult to implement such policies. But if people and young people especially are included in policy formulation, then they can work hard for such policy to be implemented. You understand? So if we give young people opportunity to participate in policy formulation, they will participate to ensure that it's being implemented. Power sharing arrangements in post-conflict societies. After civil war in Nigeria, how has we been sharing this power? Has the power been rotating the way it should? So political participation and representation is one of the aspects of what inclusive governance, political participation and representation, equity in resource distribution. Equity in what? I'm not saying equality, I'm saying equity in what? Resource distribution. Resources should be able to be the distribution of resources should be done in such a way that it promotes what? Equity. Protection of minority rights. Here there are minorities. This inclusive governance will help to reduce anxiety and tension with those minority rights. Do you understand? And then transparency and accountability. Yes, must be accountable. Let's look at the rule of law. Rule of law. The rule of law ensures that laws are applied equally and fairly, preventing abuse of power and injustice. And where there's no abuse of power and injustice in the system, then the society will be peaceful. Do you understand? But where injustice is looking at you, is is rampant. Where abuse of power is everywhere. Everybody wants to show where they belong. Everybody wants to show how much power they have. This thing can cause conflict. You understand? Example, independent courts enforcing constitutional rights, anti-corruption agencies prosecuting offenders without bias. But today, you see anti-corruption institutions are going after political, opponents. Let's look at decentralization and local governance. Decentralization transfers authority and resources from central government to local levels, improving responsiveness and reducing tension. Right? Local government has not been fair in our system here. Even some things that are meant for the local government have been taken. Do you understand? On several occasions. So that's it. So, but we need to decentralize so that the local government can also perform better to make sure that there's development in their community that is helping people to live well. You understand? That's it. Example, strengthening local council to manage community disputes. State policy debates aim at improving local authority responses. You understand? Another key concept we're going to look at is social protection policies. Social protection what policies? Social protection reduces vulnerability and economic inequality, which are key drivers of what conflict. Social protection reduces vulnerability and economic inequality. So vulnerability and inequality are quite drivers of what? They are quite drivers of conflict. They drive conflicts like never before. Example, youth employment programs to use recruitment into angles. Conditional cash transfer to vulnerable populations. This is what they used to do in our country today, but it was not helping matters like that. You understand? Because some people their business closed down because of bad policies. You just say fuel subsidy is gone. So if you say fuel subsidy is gone, you don't expect it to stand now. It must go. And must go indeed. You understand? So let's look at pictorial explanation of key. I know. So let's look at policy and institutional prevention framework. So you see the root causes of conflict, that is inequality, exclusion, injustice are the root causes. These are more or less like structural causes of conflict. Do you understand? Inequality, exclusion, and injustice are structural. Do you understand? And then we have preventive policies, such as laws, strategies, reforms. This is what we're supposed to have in place to be able to remove the first one. But most times, our laws are weak, our rules are weak, our strategies are directionless, and our reforms are not complete. Do you understand? Instead of reforms, we deform them. Do you understand? Instead of carrying reforms, we deform the institution more. So, strong institutions, security, justice, governance, public trust, and inclusion. When the institution like the justice institution are strong, what they do is that they help to build public trust. Do you understand? Yeah, when you are taking a case to the court, you are not being afraid that whether you win or not. Most especially when you know that you're supposed to win. You know, when you have to win when you have to win a case in court, you know that you're going to win the case. Do you understand? So it is good that you have some and then you know, you believe that you're going to win, but suddenly you discover that you did not win. What has happened? Justice is being served to another. Security sector reform. See the diagram here and what it's supposed to be. Inclusive governance model, citizens, that is participation, government institutions, service delivery, equity and justice, and then conflict prevention. Once we do this, citizens are participating, government institutions are ensuring that service delivery is superb, and then equity and justice come to play. Are we together? So let's look at the practical focus here today. What's our practical focus here today? Policy review exercise. Policy what? Review exercise. So what's our objective here today? To assess how well a policy or institution contributes to prevention. To assess how well a policy or institution contributes to prevention. Let's look at step by steps assessment. Select a relevant policy, let's say national security policy or youth policy. Identify the conflict risks the policy seeks to address. Examine inclusion. Who benefits? Who is excluded? Assess institutional capacity for implementation. Identify gaps and recommend improvements. So, are we ready to do it now? Are you ready to carry out a policy and then follow these steps to determine the angle and where that policy can cause conflict and how the policy is being designed to prevent conflict? So output, short policy review report high highlighting strengths. Do you understand? Short policy reviews reports highlighting what strength, weaknesses. So let's look at the summary of Unit 3. The key takeaways. Policy and institutional prevention focuses on addressing root causes of conflict. Strong, accountable, and inclusive institutions reduce grievances and violence. Security sector reform is central to building trust and human security. Inclusive governance promotes what? Participation, equity, and legitimacy. Effective prevention requires coherent policies and capable institutions. Do you hear that? Effective prevention requires what? Coherent policies and capable what? Institutions. That's what it is. So, any question? Otherwise, we have come to the end of today's lesson. But I believe that one or two persons must have a question to ask. So, if you have any question you want to ask, you ask so that we address them quickly. Any question? I'm looking at your comment section. If you have any question, you ask. Otherwise, while I'm waiting for your questions, if you want to become a member of the institute, a licensed member, you can let me know so that we'll send you a link. Take a personality test. before you progress. Okay. Yes, sir. We are ready to, sir. My best regards to you in particular and to my colleagues. All right. Yes, I have my already. Sounds great. Are you sure I'm still understanding? Are you sure I'm following what people are talking about? Is it you have your own policy? Can we assess it? If you have any policy, let's assess it. Okay, you have asked your question already. All right, let me check. What was the question? What was the question? Dominic, a lot of messages have entered, so maybe you can rewrite the question or copy it and paste again. Let me see it. Ambassador Dominic Ayo, thank you. Okay, you want to Aishatu? Okay, Aishat Yakubu. You want to be a licensed member? Okay, Aisha Aishat Yakubu. I'm going to type my WhatsApp line now, so you reach out to me, and then I'll guide you on how you can become a licensed member. I'm typing the WhatsApp line now. All right. Let me call it before I'll post it. I'll call the number before I will post it so that maybe you can get it like that. The number is +234 +234 7033458730 +234 7033458730. I'm posting it now. Yes, somebody's asking a question here. Let's look at it. Let's look at the question this person is asking here. I hope you can see the question. Let me enlarge it so I can see it very well. This is the question the person is asking. This is Naji Ishaya. Naji Ishaya is asking a question, say, why do we have policy failure in our nation, and how can they be implemented? All right. Most of the times, policies are formulated without um, without a comprehensive input. Do you understand? Policies are meant to be, uh, in, formulated based on informed decision. Do you understand? Informed decisions. That is, um, data must have been collected concerning a particular matter, and the data is well analyzed, problem identified clearly before a policy is being formulated. Policy is supposed to be a solution. Policies are or a it's supposed to be a solution or a guidelines to a solution. Do you understand? That's what policies are supposed to be. They are not supposed to become cumbersome, and the police are not supposed to create a system that victimizes people. No, they're supposed to be solutions or a guidelines to solution. Do you understand? So, and most of the times, these policies are not well consulted. Data is not well collected. Do you understand? And when data is not well collected, what happens is that policies are being formulated uninformed. Do you understand? Because, and when that is happening, then implementation is going to experience failure. Do you understand? And you know, if we have all stakeholders participating in the formulation of the policy, then it is possible that all the stakeholders that were that participated in the formulation of policy can also participated in its implementation. But any policy being formulated and you want to impose on the people, that policy is going to experience a failure. Do you understand? It's going to experience failure because people were not conducted. They did not contribute their input. So when you impose a policy on them, they may try to resist it. Do you understand? They may try to resist it, most especially when government is not being trusted. Like in Nigeria now, policy always will continue to have policy somersault. Do you understand why? Because one, government is not trustworthy. Two, not they don't conduct available, they don't have enough data to make sound policies. Do you understand? And sometimes even when with the little data they have, they still make policies that are biased in nature. And that's why they failed. Do you understand? So if you want your policies to be well articulated and and be impactful, what do? Carry out a wide consultation. Sufficient data should be collected. And all the stakeholders must be carried to contribute their quota into the formulation of the policy. If that is done, then you will not struggle for that policy to be implemented because people will welcome it and they will also work hard to make sure that the policy is being formulated. Isha, I don't know whether I have answered your question. Let me go if I can see another questions to carry. Or that one, that's it. Isha, I hope I have answered your question. Answer your question, you let me know. All right. Tijani is asking, how do we handle a policy that is manipulated by the policy makers? When a policy is biased in nature, when the policy is created and it has an undertone that it seems to be biased in nature, do you understand? And that's why such policies don't go far, they fail. Do you understand? When look for instance now, that electoral law being amended, where there is a loophole, the people know, those that created it also know. Even the way they were talking about, that these people, they are doing this intentionally because they are creating a room for manipulation. Do you understand? So people know already now, the mindset of the people is that these people want to rig election. And even if they were saying and giving such kind of consideration that yes, truly, we do have network challenges in our country, but I can tell you that in as much as we do have network challenges in our country, nobody wants to believe that these people were doing that on the account that there is network challenge in our country. In fact, for crying out loud, INEC say that we are capable, we can do it. And what does it take to tax the telecom communication to improve their network, to make sure that their network is everywhere? And if you cannot get MTN, AT, and Glo to provide what you needed, why not buy Starlink? Starlink can be imputed in those machines that you have, so that wherever they go, they can be able to their transmit their result. Do you understand? Once you have a portion of Starlink connected to your machine and provide you the network, you can send it your result anywhere. So machines should be constructed, supposed to have been constructed using the Starlink network. Do you understand? Impute the chip inside so you can take it anywhere, and then you can transmit the result from wherever you are. As well, Starlink can function anywhere. Do you understand? And what will it cost to purchase a portion of Starlink network to be able to use the construct machines that will serve in 170 something thousand polling units. It doesn't cost much. We will not even spend up to 100 billion to do that. But we have a budget for that is for this year alone. We have about 800 and something billion naira. And then, of course, there may be need for even supplementary if possible. Do you understand? So, what stops us, for goodness sake? What stops us, for goodness sake? We can do better. So that's it. So manipulate policy, they cannot help. How do we overcome the issue of abuse of power? Someone is asking a question here. Let's answer this question. How do we overcome the issue of abuse of power by the executive to other arms of government? It's for you, first and foremost, for you to know your right and for you to be able to stand by your right. We are the citizens celebrate corruption, where they celebrate abuses. What you it emboldens these people that are in government to do whatever they want to do. But if the citizens stand up and know their right and are ready to defend their own right, then nobody will be so emboldened to abuse power and then work freely. Do you understand? So it's because we celebrate those that abuse power and celebrate them, award them, recognize them, honor them. That's why they continue to do what they are doing. Do you understand? That's why the abuses are continued to be experienced. Do you understand? In all the aspects of government, in the judiciary, abuse of power, in the legislature, abuse of power, in the executive, abuse of power. Why? Because we have the most dull, the most weak, disjointed, disoriented followers. Do you understand? As citizens who celebrate mediocrity, who celebrate corruption, who celebrate abuse of power. Someone is abusing power, but we're clapping for the person, we're hailing the person that the person is doing the right thing, simply because of maybe party affiliation or tribal affiliation and all things like that. Do you understand? So this kind of thing is what so some people now, whatever Tinubu is doing now, whether Tinubu is doing well or bad, so far as they are Yoruba people, nothing concerns them. Let him continue to do whatever he wants to do. And you dare talk to, or you dare say you want to talk about what he's doing, then another person is ready to attack you. Why? Because it's my brother. That is why people are attacking him. Do you understand? Now it's my brother. That's why when it was Buhari, did anybody attack him? Why is it that it's my brother now that people are attacking him? You see? So these are the challenges that we have in our system, where people are easy to align with their own so far as it benefits them. So that's it. Somebody is commenting here. Let's read the comment from Solomon. Solomon, you are saying something, so I want to read what they're saying. Solomon say most African countries are struggling with decentralization. The national government tends to want to always be dominant. Of course, allocation of resources delays, and there are many cases of double allocation with politicians always looking for political mileage. Most resources are wasted eventually, and institutions remain to be weak to avoid scrutiny on the misuse of resources. That's it. That's it. Somebody's asking, as a peace ambassador, how can we help in managing a situation of conflict that broke out as a result of the policy manipulated by the authority? um, Our job as peace ambassadors, we have, when it comes to peace building process is supposed to take place pre, during, and post. Do you understand? Whatever the issue is, like this electoral law now, it has already passed. Do you understand? So all we can do now is just be on the watch out to see how it will play out, and then we can now gather data, go on research, independent research, and then we can now decide to like reappeal the B, or we can send the findings of the research to the government um, as a policy suggestion for them to be able to do something to correct it, to forestall other something. But in situation whereby you are to intervene or mediate, you can still mediate if possible. But these are the best way you can come to advise the government on what to do when policies are being broken. You can go look into the policy again and then give government uh, suggestion, or you can advise the government or send it as a policy suggestion and then follow up to make sure that it's being implemented to correct the problem. So how do the citizens protect their rights in the face of government machinery to suppress them? Well, first and foremost, know your right and stand by it. It doesn't matter how suppressive the government may look like, just try as much as possible to understand your rights, stand by it, and don't keep quiet. All right, don't keep quiet, but don't take laws into your hands. Just do the right thing and follow the right channels to get justice as much as possible. And even if you do not get the justice you deserve, but at least you were able to do something. Do you understand? Sometimes you fight a case and then it will turn out that the judge connives and then compromise and then also, give a poor judgment. But in a situation like that, you still don't have to give up. Just believe that it's one of those things. But at least you were able to exercise your right. You know it. You exercise it. You understand? But one thing the people in government should always understand is that power is transient. All right. You may hold power today, but tomorrow you may not be there. So you just have to know when to leave. All right. Somebody's asking, please, sir, what are the rules of Federal Character Commission in peace resolution? Eh, hmm. You see, Federal Character Commission was created to address some of the structural imbalances, to create balance and equity in the system, which are supposed to be actions that are to deal with structural problems that create, um, you know, trigger conflicts. Do you understand? Now, let's look at it. We talk about latent what causes of conflict, and then we'll talk about the trigger causes of conflict. I think we discussed that in here, right? So, latent causes of conflict are like structural causes of conflict. Do you understand? They are those things that are there and they give room for trigger causes to, light conflict. For instance, now, job allocation, so appointments of political officials. Let's say Federal Character Commission was supposed to create a balance or equity in such a way that these appointments are being done effectively. But as it stands today, it's not being able to achieve that, even in terms of employment. So you see, one section of the country is heavily employed, while the other section of the country is, not well employed, or a particular region is way covered, while another region is way underrepresented. So in a situation like that, then the one of the functions of the Federal Character Commission is not being fulfilled. Do you understand? The situation whereby those imbalances that they were created to address are still lingering there, it means that the commission is not performing its duty well. And that's why we have those challenges still lingering and it's not doing anything. So Federal Character Commission supposed to address structural problems. Do you understand? Not trigger problems. The role of Federal Character Commission is to address structural problems, not trigger problems. Do you understand? Not conflict in terms of maybe violence occur here, then they will come and then they know. That's not their role. Their role is to address structural problems. Those problems that create imbalances in the system that can cause conflicts, such as allocation of appointment, job, and all those kind of things. Do you understand? That's what Federal Character Commission is supposed to address. Well, instead of addressing them, they rather compound them. Do you understand? They compound those problems. That's it. That's the problem. Do you understand? So that's it. But their major function is to help in address, that is the policies and the programs that they were to be implemented were supposed to reduce the chances of agitation, exclusion, and all of that. Do you understand? Because these are the issues that people were talking about, that, oh, we are being marginalized, we are being excluded, we are being so change and all of that. So Federal Character Commission was created to make sure that they address those problems. But do you understand? But no way. They have not been able to address it. Agitation continues, and then injustice, cry for injustice is still there. Do you understand? So that's why they are not being able to solve those problems. And since they are not being able to solve those problems are there, and they serve as the structural causes, and any small thing that has to do with that can trigger the conflict. Do you understand? And then you see something else. So I don't know whether I answer your question. I'm trying to see how best I can explain that, but that's the best answer I can give you. That their basic function is to address structural conflict, causes of conflict. Do you understand? And by so doing, to a large extent, they'll be able to deal with the root cause of the conflict, or a root cause that could have caused a trigger conflict. Do you understand? So that is it. So any other question? I think I should stop here. Some of your questions will take them. Let me see if there's any remaining question, a very good one that we can take. If it's not, then we can move forward. Ambassador Sophie is asking a question here. Maybe this will be the last question I will take for today, and then we are done. Ambassador Sophie is asking a question here. Mr. Ayo, I don't know how much of it they are aware of. Do you understand? All right. I don't know how much of it they are aware of, but I don't think local government officials or leaders knows that there's something like policies are meant to prevent conflict from occurring. Some of them they need to be trained. Do you understand? They need to be trained. When my local government chairman, who is also happens to be my classmate, became the chairman, I wrote to him so that we can train some of the staff, even the executive and the legislative. But they don't. They see what they see as purity is different from what we were seeing. Do you understand? So he could not just fact on what I was trying to explain to him. So I leave it. The proposal I sent to him till today, I've not heard anything. So I leave it. So Ambassador Sophie is asking, is there a nation today from which others can learn as far as policy application is concerned? Yes, of course. But I can also tell you for sure that there are no perfect policies. But there are some countries that have policies that work well for them. The UK, the US, the German, the Poland, the Holland, Switzerland. These countries, they have policies that are working effectively for them. Do you understand? They have policies that are working effectively for them. They have policies that are working effectively for them. All right, they are working. At least to some extent, they are working. There are countries like Malaysia. There are countries like um, Singapore. Thank you. Countries like Singapore, countries like Malaysia, they have policies that are working for them. Do you understand? They have policies that are working for them, unlike some of these countries. Some of these African countries got independent alongside with countries like Malaysia, Singapore. But where Singapore is going, where Malaysia is going, they cannot near. Why? Because of poor policy implementation. So we can take a cue from those countries, Singapore, Malaysia. Do you understand? See what they are doing. They have, in fact, some of them have what we call development plans that span over the years. There are some countries like Malaysia, there's countries like Singapore. If you go to Singapore, there are houses that are there. The government built them, they are there. They are skyscrapers. Do you understand? Story buildings up, they are empty. Why are they empty? They are empty because they are being built for future generation, not for people now. You understand? These are policies, long-term policies, and they are strictly implementing them to make sure that that's why they are succeeding. In our own country here, once a government change, it's like, oh, whatever the previous government was doing, they abandon it, and then this one come with his own agenda, a renew hope agenda, watch transformation agenda, this one agenda, which kind of agenda? And the agenda never work. We need to have a consistent long-term policy planning. And if there's a little adjustment that we need to adjust, that's in those countries, once a leader deviates, pim, they remove you. Do you understand? That's why you see in China is developing the way it's developing because of policies, state policies, government policies are way function, that way applied. Do you understand? But that does not mean that their policies also don't suffer setback. They do, because policies are not 100% perfect. But if we put much effort, we can see results from our policies. Do you understand? So, Ambassador Sophie, I don't know whether you have gotten something. You I don't know if I've gotten some. So, thank you very much for today's training. Um, our assignment, I'm going to drop it in our WhatsApp group so that you can get the question and then run with it. So, but I want to thank you very much for taking time to participate in today's training. We hope to see you on Monday as we continue from Module 5. All right. We'll start Module 5 on Monday. And then hopefully by next week, we should be rounding up with the training. Thank you very much, and do have a lovely weekend and the Sunday ahead. Thank you so much.